review for A Boy and His Dog, 1975, starring Don Johnson. So, the year is 2024, this year. Hopefully we make it out of this year okay. There's no nukes going off like in this movie, but World War World War IV has happened, and World War III was between like 1950 and the 80s. So I don't know if they consider that like the Cold War. It's a little confusing, but World War IV happened, and it took like 4 days, and the whole Earth is destroyed, which is what would happen if World War IV occurs, and hopefully it never does. But so Vic and his telepathic dog wander a post-apocalyptic wasteland in 2024 as they scavenge for food and sex. They stumble into an underground society where the old ways are preserved. He finds a new purpose in his life. Although in this it says after World War III, so I don't know. I could have sworn that it was World War IV that took 4 days, but anyways, this is one of the weirdest movies I think I've ever seen, because a lot of the movie is just Don Johnson telepathically talking to his dog. The dog telepathically talking to him, and the dog has like radar, kind of. It can like, because Don Johnson's looking for women, and the dog is helping him, and they're friends, although they kind of talk shit on each other, and it's actually some funny dialogue between the two. And they telepathically talk to each other, and yeah, and he has like this radar thing where he can sense raiders and screamers, as they call them too. And and then they finally do stumble upon a woman who's she's underground in this building, because a lot of the earth has been covered in radioactive dust, so a bunch of the buildings are just underground, and people often just dig into the earth to find a house or something, and they go raid the house. So this is a very influential movie, because the creators of Fallout 1 and 2 have said that this is the main influence for Fallout. Could definitely see it. He even calls the dog meat at one point. And if you ever played Fallout 1 or 2, you can get a dog on your team. His name's Dog Meat. Although his name in this is Blood, though, but I think he calls him Dog Meat once. So in the beginning of the movie. So yeah, very influential. I mean, it would go on to. I mean, this is even before Mad Max. So I don't know. Maybe it kind of influenced Mad Max 1 and 2. I would think so, especially 2. Because Mad Max 1 is kind of all takes place on this road. But anyways. So I definitely enjoyed this. Yeah, I'd say, I mean, like, I'm not a massive fan of the first Mad Max, honestly. I know it's a classic, and that also influenced Fallout 1 and 2. Definitely the look more. Like, he's in, like, the leather, and definitely the look in Fallout 1, especially. So, but this is more like the Road Warrior, I'd say. Because he's out in the wilderness searching for food and resources and women. And his only friend is this dog. And there's very little dialogue you see from Don Johnson, because it's like all almost telepathic. And I guess we're supposed to assume that like the dog and him have been mutated, I guess, by the nuclear winter, by the nukes. It's never said in the movie, but that's what I assume. But it's a strange movie because there's just him talking telepathically to the dog. He finds this woman, and then raiders, or they call them screamers, come. And that's another thing. The TV show Firefly, I think, called their raiders. What were they called? Were they called screamers? I don't know. But this may be an influence on Firefly a little bit too. Um, if you could do me a favor and smash that like button, though, that'd be great. Really helps the channel. So it's very interesting because it's 1975, so it's kind of before a lot of the nuclear movies that you'd see. I mean, there's Doctor Strangelove, but that's before the nukes. And after this, like I said, you get Mad Max, Mad Max 2, Mad Max 3, and now we have 4 and 5. Well, I guess Furiosa is technically 5, even though Mad Max isn't in the movie, I guess. But anyways, it's based on a book by Harlan Ellison. Maybe it's a short story. One of the reasons the film now enjoys cult status because of its blackly comedic last line. Ironically, Harlan Ellison hated this and actively campaigned to have it removed. But it's a strange movie, and then I mean I liked it. It's totally very different. Directed by an actor, L.Q. Jones, who's been in tons of stuff. Battle Cry, Battle of the Coral Sea. He was in a bunch of Sam Peckinpah movies. Mask of Zorro. The Edge. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, he's like that guy in The Edge that talks to Anthony Hopkins, I think, about bears. And I think he runs that cabin that they're in. In Casino. Guy's been in tons of stuff. Kung Fu. So he only made like 3 movies though. Did a pretty good job directing this, I'd say. Don't really have any complaints there. He directed this. He directed a movie called The Devil's Bedroom in 1964, and he directed The Incredible a TV show, 1 episode of The Incredible Hulk. So, but yeah, it's a strange movie, and then they're traveling, and he gets abducted by this group of people that kind of have their own underground society. What are they called? The Commission. And it's run by these 3 people, and it was a trap that this lady set upon Don Johnson. Oh yeah, spoilers. Full spoilers. The movie came out in 1975. So and they abduct him, and she was in on it because she's from there. And then she wants to be the head of the commission, but they lied to her, and they're like, no, we're not going to put you on the commission. So she's all pissed. They abduct him, and they're going to use him to impregnate all of their newlyweds because as they said, we've been underground too long, so I guess the men aren't fertile. So they strap him to this machine to extract it, and I think she said after he impregnates like 30 or 40 women, then they're going to kill him, and then they bring in a new guy for it. She rescues him. She fakes that she's getting married. She rescues him. She's like, "Hey, let's take him out for the commission." Then they just kind of run away though and escape. The commission has this big burly dude who goes around killing people that they decide to, because they're basically like judges, and a few of the people that they find disloyal, they say send them to the farm, but I think that means they just kill them because he just walks up to them and strangles them and crushes like their throats. And this part was so weird because then he's shooting at the guy to kill him. He finally kills him, and the back of him like explodes, and he's like an android, I guess. So in this world, there are androids, I guess, and that was kind of odd because it's like nowhere else in the movie are there, but there's one down there, and he's basically a brute for the commission. Um, Everyone that lives underground in this world wears almost like clown makeup. It's very strange. I don't know, maybe because they're sickly looking because they. I mean, if you live underground, you're not going to get any sunlight. I would think you would just die, but you think they would like come up outside for like a day or 10 hours and then go back in, but I don't know. You think you'd want some sunlight, but yeah, it's a very dark movie. Like he's not a good guy at all. A good guy, and he which it's kind of just a different kind of movie because he's basically a terrible person, and he is looking for women, and then at the end of the movie they escape. His dog is beat up and is starving and needs food. So um Don Johnson, then it like fades to black, and then it cuts back, and the woman before said like, "I love you, let's run off and we'll make a life together." And it cuts to black, and then she's gone, and there's a fire going with a barbecue. So he killed her, and basically the dog ate large parts of her. And then Don Johnson says, "No, I'm not hungry." So I guess he doesn't resort to cannibalism, at least. But it's all just kind of played for kind of laughs, and um but I guess that's this world. It's like no one is a good person really. Everyone's done horrible things to survive. And yeah, so yeah, the dog eats part of her, and then they're walking off, and then the dog's like, after this long walk, I'm gonna have to eat more. And then so like I guess he has more of her, and then the dog like says, uh she was a very bad judge of character, but she had good taste. Get it? So yeah, definitely a very dark movie. Oh, Ray Manzarek, keyboardist from The Doors, was a musician on this movie. Yeah, it's got actually some good kind of odd music. At a fiction convention, there was a pre-release screening of this film. At the end, when writer Harlan Ellison came on stage and invited comments, the most common one was that the portion of the movie taking place in the underground was slow moving, a polite way of saying boring. Ellison was very defensive about this and responded to the effect that the underground was a boring, sultry, stult, stultifying place, and the movie was intended to convey that. The audience did not find this to be a satisfactory answer. When the film won the Hugo Award for the Best Dramatic Presentation, The award went to the writers and directors, in this case L.Q. Jones, as has been done for years. However, Harlan Ellison, author of the original story, who at the time had already won 6 Hugos, put up a fuss at being left out of that Hugo committee, eventually deciding to include himself. Unfortunately, there was no iconic Hugo Award rocket statues left, so the committee just gave him an extra base. With the 2 Hugo's awards he would win after this, Ellison would claim he had won 8.5 Hugos, with this being the half. James Cagney was considered for the voice of Blood, but the idea was dropped because Cagney's frame would have been a distraction from the character. Yeah, James Cagney's in this. Jason Robards is in this, and the voice of Blood is Tim McIntyre, and the woman that's throughout the movie is Susan Benton. So Jason Robards, good actor, a lot of stuff. But yeah, it's an interesting, odd movie. I definitely recommend it, especially if you're a fan of the Fallout games. Because I've always heard of this, and I've never watched it, and I decided to watch it, and it's enjoyable, dark comedy, kind of. Just kind of, showing the wasteland and how brutal it is. And basically, the only thing that his only companion really is this dog, and it's really the only thing he cares about. But yeah, and I do like that they show him scavenging and getting supplies. They go to this town, which is basically like in the first Fallout game, and they go there and they're like watching, I guess it's like porno. You pay to get in, and then you can sit and watch this stuff, and they're cooking popcorn. The dog really wants some popcorn, but he won't buy any. And by buying, you trade food, basically canned food. So, but yeah, it's a pretty crazy movie. I'd recommend it. Roger Ebert gave it 2.5 stars out of 4. Yeah, I'd maybe agree with that. I don't think it's like amazing. I don't know if I ever watch it again, but A Boy and His Dog is a weird offbeat sci-fi movie about one of the genre's favorite subjects, the survival of a nuclear holocaust. The boy of the title is Vic, Don Johnson. The dog is Blood, a cheerful mutt who can communicate telepathically and sounds like one of those ads from Pepperidge Farm. The one in which the voice is so gall darn home folksy you want to shoot the radio. Vic and Blood have made a mutual survival pact and get along well enough. Blood's greatest weakness is for telling Vic bad limericks. There's not much to do in 2024 except sleep, eat, and kill. But a few scratchy old porno movies have survived, and sometimes people watch them. During one screening, Blood senses that there's a woman in the audience, and there is the lovely Quilla June, Susan Benton. Vic doesn't know it, but she's bait. Tended to lure him down into the underground city where he can father a new generation. The down under men are all impotent, apparently, because they've been deprived of sunshine, habitus of the 4 o'clock bars. Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't just go. I mean, I guess it's too dangerous to go out on the top, but I think you would go out every week for a couple hours at least. Vic leaves Blood on the surface and descends into Topeka. That's the city, underground city. A truly horrible place, looks like a cross between Norman Rockwell's small town and a circus sideshow. It's ruled by the committee, most notably by Jason Robards. Working in the pancake makeup all the citizens down under have adopted and looking suitably gruesome. Vic, it appears, will be hooked up to a sinister artificial insemination machine to replenish Topeka's sperm bank, and it's a long about here, we begin to understand why the ads call this movie kinky. A Boy and His Dog is based on the well-known novella by Harlan Ellison. One time infant terrible of science fiction, a practitioner of new waves in the biological and reproductive function of men and women are considered at least as important as those bug-eyed monsters. The story seemed to almost to defy filming, but it's successfully visualized by L.Q. Jones. Jones, he borrowed his name from the role he played in Battle Cry as a veteran character actor with no less than Sam Peckinpah films to his credit. He's the stringy, blonde-haired, sinister-looking guy in the Wild Bunch. He hasn't directed much before. The Devil's Bedroom is one of his credits, but here he has a sort of wacky success. The movie's about eccentrics, especially the dog, who turns out to be very eccentric, and Jones seems to have a feel for that. The movie doesn't look or sound like um, most depictions of the alternate futures. It's got a unique, well, I was about to say yes, charm, but the movie's last scene doesn't quite let, let me get away with that. Yeah, it's pretty brutal. Like it's just like she says she loves him, and then it fades to black, and I guess he kills her and feeds her to the dog. I mean, it's very wow. Like I said, he's not a good guy, but that's the movie. A Boy and His Dog. I enjoyed it. Helen Winston's in this. Man, I was trying to figure out what she's in, but she's in a bunch of stuff. But I was trying to figure out what she's in, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. But anyways, yeah, I liked it. Check it out if you haven't seen it. A Boy and His Dog, 1975, with Don Johnson. So that's about it. I'll see you next time.